Hello, hello, hello. I'm Daniel Snyder from Seeking Alpha. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in to this video webinar. Today, we are talking about something that I have been dying to share with you all. Now, if you were at our Top Stocks event here just last week, you already have seen the power of the Pro Quant portfolio with a little bit of snippets that was shared during Stephen Kress's session. But we have the man here today dedicated for this time to only talk about this product, talk about the methodology, walk you through what makes it so powerful, show you the back test here today, proving results that have been generated. So let's go ahead and get a quick legal disclaimer kicked out of the way, and then we'll go ahead and dive into conversation with Steve. The Pro Quant portfolio is not an investment product run with real money. It is not a brokerage account and neither enables nor reflects actual trading activity. No recommendation or advice is given as to whether any investment is suitable for a particular investor. You are solely responsible for determining whether any investment, security, strategy, product, or service is appropriate or suitable for you based on your investment objectives and personal and financial situation, and for evaluating its benefits and risks. Stephen Kress is VP of Quantitative Strategies at Seeking Alpha. Seeking Alpha is not a fiduciary by virtue of any person's use or access to the site. For more details on the methodology and performance of our quant system, we'll drop a click link for you in the chat, or you can find it beneath the video. Any views or opinions expressed in the webinar do not reflect those of Seeking Alpha as a whole. Any content and tools on the platform are offered for information purposes only. Seeking Alpha does not take account of your objectives or your financial situation. It does not offer any personalized investment advice. Seeking Alpha is not a licensed security dealer, broker, U.S. investment advisor, or investment bank. And now, with that out of the way, Stephen Kress, thank you for taking the time today. Real quick, Steve, if I mentioned right now, do you realize that we are less than 1% from all-time highs in the S&P 500?
Pretty amazing, huh? It's been
Have you
quite
thought
a
about that? I
year.
mean, after everything we've gone through this year, less than 1%. But that, I just wanted to mention that. I was just looking at it after such a strong day in the markets today. But I'm going to hand it over to you. Let's go ahead and dive on in.
Excellent day in the market. For those who don't know me, as Daniel mentioned, I'm Stephen Kress. Just a quick bio. I've been in the financial world for close to 35 years, and most of my career was spent at Morgan Stanley, where I ran a prop trading desk in quantitative strategies. I was also the head of Northern Trust Global Investment Management, Asset Management Division, and I also was a founder of a hedge fund, which was called Crest Capital Management, which focused in quantitative strategies, and also the founder of a fintech company called Crest Cap Investment Research that Seeking Alpha liked so much, they bought the company. And that has brought me here today. And I'm really excited to tell you a little bit about our new product. This presentation will cover why Quant. We are going to introduce the Pro Quant portfolio and Pro capabilities as well outside of the Pro Quant portfolio. So what is Quant and how do we do it? Well, Quant, I often say it's very similar to what you would find with an investment research analyst that works at Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs or Merrill Lynch. However, the big difference being we take those fundamental factors that those analysts look at, and it becomes a true data-driven process that is literally almost put on steroids with the power of computer processing. So we're looking for the same core factors as most analysts do, but most analysts have the ability to really just research 15 or 20 companies. And typically, when they update their research reports on any particular stock, you might only find 4 or 5 updates a year. With our quant system, using the same data, we just refresh it every single day. So we're literally, our quant system will go through balance sheets, income statements, cash flow statements, and hundreds of financial metrics for each company. And what really makes the system powerful is that we take each of those metrics for a company and we compare it to the rest of the sector. And that gives us the ability to identify if those metrics are strong or weak versus the sector. And then we take the core factors that we look at, such as value, growth, profitability, analyst revisions, and momentum, and we total the score. We can rank all companies, and it really helps us identify who the best are and who the worst are in terms of the data-driven process. And that's really what Quant is, and that's the power of it. So I want to show you a chart here, and this basically reflects all our Quant strong buys going back over a 5-year period. And there's no cherry picking here. We take every single strong buy that we have, And if the stock rating drops from a strong buy, we actually take it out of the portfolio. So this gives us the ability to take a look at only quant strong buys. And we have taken those quant strong buys and we've compared it to Wall Street analysts who have strong buys, the S&P 500, and SA contributors as well. And you can see over the last 5 years, all our strong buys, and on any given day, there could be anywhere from 350 to 375 strong buys. The performance is up 267% versus the S&P for the same period, up only 88%. And really, this kind of hurts if you work on Wall Street. Wall Street over the same period, their strong buys are up only 46%. So we collect this data from S&P Global, and we have access to all the Wall Street ratings. So it gives us the ability to actually monitor the performance of the analysts. And obviously, we benchmark to the S&P 500, in this case, on an equal weighted basis. So you can see, and this is not an investable product. It's not a mutual fund. It's not an ETF. Really, the purpose of just showing this is to identify the strategy that we employ. It works, and it works very well over a long period of time. But it's been working this year, and as Daniel mentioned, this has been a heck of a volatile year. As you can see so far, year to date, the quant strong buys are up 4.88% versus the S&P up 2.76%, and Wall Street not even cracking 1%. So what's important about this, as I mentioned, this at any given day could reflect anywhere 350 to 375 strong buys. It's not really an investable product. And that is really the point behind the Pro Quant portfolio. We wanted to create a product that focused on our top 30 quant ideas with some criteria that I'll tell you about. We have a few criteria and parameters. So it's not the exact replication. If you were to go to the quant screen and see the top 30, there are some slight differences because of the criteria that we've added in, but it makes it much more an investable product. And as with any quant model, if you're looking as we do at almost 5,000 stocks, you would expect your top decile stocks to outperform your bottom of decile stocks. And so it will repeat sequentially down from the second decile to the third to the fourth. So we really wanted to be able to extract that incredible performance that we have with our top stocks and bring it forward to you. And we have done that with a Pro Quant portfolio. So this is an actively managed data-driven model that leverages Seeking Alpha's proprietary quant system. And it gives us the ability to deliver our high conviction ideas on a systematic basis and on a weekly basis. So it gives you one, you can see to the right-hand side, the performance of this has been absolutely fantastic. Our back tests, which goes back to January of 2015 through May of 2025, you can see was up on a cumulative basis 1,632% versus the S&P up about 162%, literally 10 times the performance of the S&P 500. So this is the power of having that systematic model, which refreshes data every day for all the stocks in our universe and helps us to instantly identify the strongest stocks from the weakest stocks. And that's what we want to bring forward in the Quant Pro portfolio.
Steve, real quick, I want to
Yeah,
jump in here and just go ahead and make sure we plant this early on in everyone's mind that's tuning in or watching this video right now. Is the benchmark for the Pro Quant portfolio will be the S&P 500 equal weight index. That is the RSP. This is
correct.
against what most people are aware of when they think about the S&P 500. They think about the market cap weighted index or the SPY ETF or that like. So want to make sure we'll explain it here in a little bit more why we choose the equal weight index, but I wanted to go ahead and point that out
Well,
as you.
Daniel, you brought it up, so I'm glad you did. And the reason why is that this is a fixed portfolio of 30 stocks, and it's equal weighted. So it would be a much fairer comparison to use the benchmark that is equal weighted, which is the S&P 500 equal weighted, as opposed to the S&P 500, which is market cap weighted. If we were looking at, well, even when we do look at all our strong buys and we rebalance every day, that's equal weighted as well. So really, the S&P 500 just all the way around for us, if we're equal weighting the stocks, is a much better benchmark.
Yeah, same thing as in the ETF picking a benchmark, right? Or if you're in the bond field, you're looking at the ag index. I mean, there's always a benchmark, and this is the one for this portfolio.
Yeah, and then I'll also say if you went back over decades, the S&P on an equal weighted basis actually has stronger performance in the S&P on a market cap weighted basis. It's really only over like the last decade and the most recent years where the S&P on a market cap weighted basis has been outperforming the S&P on an equal weighted basis. And of course, that has to do with the Mag 7 having such an incredible return and being there's such a high concentration within those stocks for the S&P 500. So it's only over recent years where the market cap has outperformed the equal weighted. Over a longer period, though, your better bet has been the S&P on an equal weighted basis. So where does that bring us? We showed you the back test, which had incredible performance. We started this product. The date that we started to select the stocks was on the closing prices of Friday, May 30th. The stocks were actually picked the following Monday, which was June 2nd. But we can't pick the stocks without having a closing price. So we had to use the closing prices of Friday, May 30th in order to pick the stocks. And I don't want to take away from the performance. You could see from the beginning of June through June 23rd, the portfolio is up 8.76% versus the S&P on an equal weighted basis, up 1.43%. And you can see below the S&P on a market cap weighted basis is up 1.92%. So the portfolio is already off to a fantastic start. Daniel, got a question?
Well, no, I was going to say, not to mention also that this return is in an environment of extreme geopolitical risk that has been shaking the world, right? When you think about how
Crazy
investors
month.
get nervous in their seats and they wonder if they should sell everything and is oil going to spike? Is the strait going to close? And yet you're sitting here with almost a 9% over these last few weeks. It's incredible.
I don't want to pat myself on the back, but it has definitely been an incredibly volatile environment. As you mentioned, geopolitically, obviously, we know what's going on with the wars. We know what's going on with oil. We know that in July, the tariff reprieve is going to end. So a lot of people are starting to factor in potentially higher inflation starting in July. So lots been going on, and the portfolio really has had a really strong return during that period. So how do we do it? As I mentioned, the Pro Quant portfolio, it holds 30 stocks, and the stocks are comprised of US listed securities and ADRs. So it really chooses from a universe of almost 5,000 stocks. And we're looking for stocks, again, that are collectively strong on value, growth, profitability, EPS revisions, and momentum. But the big thing with this is that we rebalance it on a weekly basis. So what we want to be able to do is have a solid portfolio of 30 stocks, but week in and week out, we want to change it up to reflect our quant model. And that means that on average, you can have 2 to 3 trades possibly a week. Sometimes there will be no trades. Sometimes there will just be two, one buy, one sell. Sometimes you'll have two buys and two sells. On average, though, from the rebalancing period going back to 2015, we found that there were about 2 to 3 trades on a weekly basis. And we think this is really, quite helpful with other portfolios that rebalance just once a month or maybe twice a month. It doesn't give you sort of the fluidity that we have from our quant system that is constantly looking at the companies that have the best characteristics. And again, really, our model is updated every single day, but it's difficult for most investors to buy and sell stocks every day. So we felt weekly would be a really good period, and the back test certainly showed that as well. As I should mention, it is a fixed portfolio. We're not just introducing new ideas all the time. So with a fixed portfolio, you can actually just have a fixed amount of capital and trade it off of that fixed amount of capital. Of course, you could add capital to it at any point, but you could keep the capital level the same and just trade in and out of the ideas. So what drives the selection of each position using our quant signals? Well, as I mentioned, we're looking at close to 5,000 stocks. We update it on a daily basis. So it's really important when you look at valuation metrics, especially metrics that have price to sales or price to book, price to earnings, or if you're looking at EV to sales or EV to EBIT, EV to EBITDA, all those get updated on a daily basis. Anything that's price relative with a metric gets updated on a daily basis. Not all metrics get updated on a daily basis. You have like a lot of profitability metrics, or you'll have revenue numbers that could be updated on a quarterly basis. But every day there are different companies updating at different points, and we want to make sure that we always capture companies whenever they have updates, especially when you go into earnings announcements. That's when companies tend to report a lot. So we just want to make sure that on a daily basis we capture all changes, and that's really, a powerful part about this model is you get to make decisions based on current data, not old data. The model employs a rigorous multi-factor approach. So many models that are out there could just be momentum oriented or just value oriented or growth oriented. We use five core factors, and those five core factors help add diversification. So we don't have anything that's just too momentum driven or too growth oriented. We have value in there as an important factor. And if something's too expensive, it's not going to be added to the portfolio. Additionally, if a company doesn't have any profits, we're not going to be adding it to the portfolio. So those are some important considerations. And I actually want to take you to the platform. So I'm going to show you what drives the buy and sell decisions, but I can actually do that right on the Pro platform, which is where
And
I'm
this
going
is
to take you.
this is what I love about these webinars, Steve, is you take us right into the platform. We see how simple this is, right? 5 tabs: analysis, portfolio history, performance, and about. There's not a lot of stuff to dive into. So it's easy to see all of the stock picks, see all the close picks, the about section, everything. But I'm gonna hand it back over to you and let you do your thing.
Yeah, we try to keep it as user friendly as possible. As you mentioned, there's 5 tabs. So once you read the about tab, you actually don't even have to look at that anymore. So then you really have 4 tabs where you look at the performance. We're very transparent. It gets updated every day. You'll be able to see the portfolio history forever. So from years from now, you'll be able to go back to day one and track every single trade. Then we show the current portfolio as it is. And then we have the analysis. So on a weekly basis, um, at minimum on a weekly basis at 9:30 every Monday, when the New York Stock Exchange opens, you will see the ideas come out, and it will come out in the form of the article that is posted on the platform here. But of course, you can get an email directly to your inbox. So you'll have a number of options where you can see the portfolio. And I'll click into the Pro Quant portfolio here, which was released on Monday, covered a little bit of the news that was out there. I have a feeling a lot of people are just going to scroll past that and go right to the new buys and sells. And on Monday, we had 2 stocks that came in. We had Avino Silver and Gold Mines, and we had Avia Technologies, ticker symbol AEVA and ticker symbol ASM. And we'll have a little bit of a write up on the new ideas as they come in. And then we'll show you the stocks that are being sold as well. And this Monday, we sold Cytom X Therapeutics and Quantising Group, ticker symbol QSG. And I will tell you on QSG, Daniel, I was happy and sad to see that go at the same time. And I will show you
I
exactly
mean,
why.
88% return, and well, that was a week, or when was that one selected? We'll have to look.
It was a pretty incredible return. So I'm going to show you the returns here. We had it in the portfolio for 2 weeks.
The
So it
original.
came in on May 30th. We sold it on June 20th. It was an 88% return in just a 2 week period. But we had a number of other stocks that performed incredibly well. We had Power Solutions International up 52%. We had Credo Technology, which is actually in the AlphaPix portfolio as well, up 50%. Bitcoin Depot up 35%. China Yuchi International. So part of what you'll see here, there's a lot of international names. They're all ADRs, so they're easy to buy. They all trade in the United States through the ADR. But a big difference versus our AlphaPix portfolio. AlphaPix, we really keep it to US stocks and only ADRs that are primarily listed in the US. Here, the ADR does not have to be primarily listed in the US. There's also, well, I'll take us back to, I wanted to take us to the about page first. So I just want to show people we're about to go into the buys, how we make our buy and sell decisions. First thing I do want to say though, if you're just getting started, if you have Pro, there are a number of different ways that you could do it. Obviously, you can go to the Pro tab, the portfolio tab, and that will show you the positions. You can follow the weekly trade alerts. You could read the analysis from the Quant site. You can feel free to buy all the ideas. You could buy a handful of ideas. You could cherry pick the ideas. It's really up to you how you want to use this portfolio. Some people will want to just go in large cap stocks. Some people may want to just focus on the small cap stocks. It's based on what your risk tolerance is. It's based on the amount of capital that you have. So I just want to let you know that there are a number of options that you have in terms of using this portfolio, but we make it very easy. As I said, you just go to the portfolio tab. You can check out the performance tab to monitor the performance, and you follow it for the weekly trade alerts. And you can read the analysis to get an understanding of why stocks were added or sold. So, what are the buy criteria? It's got to be a strong buy quant rating for a consecutive number of trading days. That is proprietary. When I tell you the number of trading days, we don't release that. There is no active M&A activity with the companies in the portfolio. If there were a company that were to have a delayed filing and their SEC reporting, it would be taken out of the portfolio immediately. The stock does have to be liquid and trade on a daily basis. So we do have small cap stocks, but they still have to be tradable. And everything is priced under $10,000. So you won't find anything over $10,000. Ironically, if you were to look at our Alpha Picks portfolio, that doesn't have anything priced under $10. So a little bit of a difference there. Here, it's basically anything under 10,000, including stocks under $10, where with Alpha Picks, we don't have stocks under $10. When do we decide to sell? If a stock rating falls to a sell or a strong sell, it's taken out of the portfolio that day. So at 9:30, we will issue a report. So that could be Monday through Friday. That could happen. If a stock drops from a strong buy or a buy to a hold, that will come out on the rebalance day. So anything that becomes a hold, we wait to the rebalance day. There's also, as I mentioned, M&A thresholds that can be breached, the SEC filing delays, and of course, if a price exceeds 10,000, it would be taken out. The performance methodology is calculated starting on June 2nd, 2025, using closing prices for buys and closing prices for sells. Dividends are reinvested. Returns are time weighted, consistent with the GIP standard, which is used by most mutual funds. This also neutralizes the impact for external cash flows and allows for a more accurate assessment of the portfolio strategy. Strategy characteristics, as I mentioned, there's an active focus on stocks that collectively exhibit characteristics of value, growth, profitability, momentum, and EPS revisions. There are no market cap restrictions. And the trading frequency, as I mentioned, it's rebalanced on a weekly basis with an average number of trades of 2 to 3 trades. And many of you are familiar with Emma Johnson on Alpha Picks. For the Pro Quant portfolio, we have Temi, who is a seasoned professional. He worked at S&P Global, where we get our data from, for many, many years, and he's been well published. So Temi is a co-founder in the Pro Quant portfolio with me. So you will
Yeah,
see
we
him
we
on.
love Timmy, by the way. Just make sure we know. I mean, he's probably going to watch us. Timmy, we love you.
And he will be on future webinars for the Pro Quant portfolio. So what I'm going to do, Daniel, is I'm going to take us back to the portfolio tab. And when you click on the portfolio tab, you can see the quant rating. So this gives you an indication of the strength of that strong buy or buy. And we could actually sort it by that as well. So if you only wanted to pick a handful of our top strong buys, say you wanted the 5 strongest buys, you could see the scores right here. And you could pick 5, or as I said, you could just pick the entire portfolio. So there are a lot of different choices here. This will show you the ticker symbol. It will show you the price that it was picked at. These are for the current recommendations. It will show you what the sector is, and you can actually sort by the sector. So if you feel like you're a little bit too overweight in a certain sector with your overall portfolio, this will give you a chance to sort of monitor it. Here you can see we have a lot of financials right now. There's only one consumer discretionary stock, only one communication service stock. We have a number of industrials, and we have a number of IT stocks and a number of material stocks. And these have been really very strong performing sectors right now. And as you can see through the price returns, which I just sorted by, and this is for the current portfolio, not the closed positions. You can see most of our positions have done incredibly well, but not all of them. You have Netflix Health down 23% and Air France down 8% since it was put in the portfolio. But by and large, most of the stocks have absolutely crushed it. If you click on the close tab, You'll see the two positions that we just closed on Monday. One QSG, which was the consumer discretionary sector with that 88% return. And the other was actually at a loss of 12.4%, which was Cytom X Therapeutics, ticker symbol CTMX. So quite easy to see the positions that are closed, quite easy to see the positions that are currently in the portfolio. As I mentioned, we're very transparent, so you'll always be able to see the history, and the portfolio history will also help you indicate the buy action for that week. So we'll bring to your attention the new names that are being added to the portfolio, and you can sort quickly and see all the ideas. And then you can see the sells as well that came out of the portfolio. And interesting, enough you actually see the change in the weights as well. But each week it gets rebalanced back to equal weight, and then you see the overall performance. Now, Daniel, I do want to say what you're seeing here, this is on my system. If you have the Pro Quant portfolio, this graph has not been displayed yet. We're actually waiting for the 1 month point before we share this with everyone. And then once it is shared, you'll be able to click on various time periods such as 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, year to date, since inception, in a similar fashion to the alpha picks. But we were waiting for this to populate with 1 month of data before we shared it with everybody. But you can see it's off to a great start. Daniel, not only up 8.76%, but I will share with you what the portfolio has done today.
Yeah, not to
Um,
mention that update coming to the site is only next week. You're only 1 week out, so it'll be good to
Only
see.
1 week out. The Pro Quant portfolio today is up 3%. So we'll be able to add that 3% to that 8% figure that's there. We had a great day for CommScope Holdings and the new stock that we added, Avita Technology up 9.7%, Credo up 8.69% today, and OppFi. These latter two, Credo and OppFi, are both in the Alpha Pix portfolio, both having outstanding days. And Alpha Pix, which is now up year to date, it struggled a bit this year for the first time in the 3 years that we've been running it because of all the volatility of the markets. But I am pleased to report with Alpha Pix, it is outperforming the overall market year to date. And today it was up almost 2.6%. So that will be added to the returns. So really, with the environment that we're in now, the quant system is really falling into place with what works for the quant system. I'll take us back to the presentation. Off to the next slide. So how can you follow our trade alerts? So the weekly trade alerts are issued, as I mentioned, for all buy, sells, and rebalances. The alerts are distributed via the Pro Quant portfolio. So Daniel, this is pretty important. If you're a premium client, you do not have access to the Pro portfolio. The only way to get the Pro portfolio is by being a Pro client. And I will let you mention at the end the sale that's going on and the price for the Pro portfolio. Alerts include detailed analysis from the quant team, and subscribers can view current positions, allocations, and performance at any time with the Pro Quant portfolio. Here is the back test that I want to share with you. So this back test goes from July of 2015 to May 30th, 2025. And you can see it's had absolutely outstanding results. I will highlight, though, Dale, when we hit that volatility early in the year, many of you are probably familiar with the webinars that Daniel and I have been on. And we were saying back in December and January of this year to expect a lot of volatility with our quant system, with the alpha pick stocks, and that you could expect as there was a rotation into safe haven stocks, safe haven sectors, gold, and cash, many of the stocks would come off sharply. And you're clearly seeing that happened here. But as I mentioned during all those webinars, the stocks with strong fundamentals, they would snap back and snap back hard. And that's exactly what we're seeing at this point. So in a way, I'm glad that you could see what a pullback looks like, but at the same time, you could see what the rebound looks like as well. So I'll take us to the next slide, and you can see this for various time periods. So over a 5-year time period, the Pro Quant portfolio was up 440% versus the S&P equal weighted up 90%. And of course, that 10-year return up 1,400% versus the S&P up 155%. You'll see some slight differences with the returns here because I was producing these at different dates. They weren't some ended on May 30th, some ended in June. So the returns were a little bit different. So that's why there's some slight differences with the returns. So what are the additional Pro features? So obviously this is a great addition to Pro, but with Pro, you have top analysts, you have top analyst ideas, you have upgrades and downgrades, you have exclusive coverage of stocks that are not covered by Wall Street and just covered by our Seeking Alpha contributors. And you also have a number of short ideas. So there's some other real key features that you get with Pro that you don't get on Premium. And actually, I'll take us back to the platform.
Yeah, just to clarify as well, just as you said, just to make sure everybody here watching this video right now understands, Pro is a separate subscription from Premium, and it's a separate subscription from Alpha Picks. Just so that you're all aware, when you get into Pro, you get everything added on the nav bar here that Steve's about to highlight.
Right. So when I go into Alpha Picks, that's a separate system. This is part of the Pro platform. So if I were to click on Home, this would look very familiar to a lot of people. It's the same that you would see on Premium. But what you don't see on Premium is you could click here on Top Analysts. And what we do here is take our top 15 contributors. We monitor their performance, and there's a number of metrics that we look at to show their success rate and to show what the average return is for their stocks over a 12-month period. And I think this is a great system. There are both buy, sells that will be highlighted. So some of the analysts are recommending sells for those who want to short stocks. Others will show their conviction as a strong buy or a buy, and that has a different weight in the overall performance. But you can see the average return for some of these analysts over the last year have been absolutely fantastic. Um, and to make it easy for the subscribers to find those top ideas from our top ranked analysts, all you have to do is click on top ideas and it will show you the most recent reports that they have with their recommendation. So Pro is really like a tremendous tool for anybody that really is into alpha generation. Pro is a fantastic platform to have because it's always providing the best ideas, whether it's our contributor, and we're scoring those contributors here. So, and we have thousands of contributors at Seeking Alpha, and we're highlighting the top 15 for you and bringing their reports forward. And then, of course, you have the Pro Quant portfolio, which is extracting the best of our quant system. And as you can see in the first 2 weeks, we've had some amazing returns. Taking a look at that overall. So this is purely quant. Then we have the upgrade and downgrade feature, which is just really a nice way to find on a daily basis of the stocks that have been upgraded from their previous ratings, which is a really nice tool. And then we have the exclusive coverage. We have companies where we have written research reports from our contributors that you will not find research on Wall Street. And the performance on those ideas is fantastic. And lastly, one of the top features is the short ideas. So if you are running shorts of your portfolio, or if you're a hedge fund manager, this is a fantastic platform to find short ideas. And if I take us, basically, I can identify any stock here. And I want to show you if we were to take a look at, let's see, well, I guess if we went back to the performance overall, which we showed in the presentation, you could see how the various returns look on a 5-year basis. And you can see the contributors have very strong performance versus Wall Street and the S&P 500. So the quant system, again, you now have an investable product in Alpha Picks and with a Pro Quant portfolio. But with our contributors, you can see those reports come out on a daily basis, and it's really easy to find on the platform. So
Steve,
Dan,
I want to jump in here real quick because
yeah,
Robert asked a great question here in the chat. It says, does Pro include everything in Premium? I want to make sure we understand. Yes, it does include everything in Premium. You can think about Pro as Premium on steroids, right? We give you everything and more, and we help with the filtering. And now you have the Pro Quant portfolio as well, which is just like the cherry on the top.
So there really some are amazing alpha generation features on Pro that you don't get on Premium. But I got to tell you, with the Pro Quant portfolio, for years I've wanted to bring this forward, and we had a survey of our Alpha Picks customers, asking what else we could do, and about half the customers actually wanted ideas on a more frequent basis. So it really gave us the venue to bring forward the Pro Quant portfolio, because our subscribers want to see ideas and our top quant ideas on a weekly basis. And it definitely pays off. I knew myself from the performance that consistently our top decile stocks significantly outperform the rest of the universe. And this has really given us a chance to bring that forward for our subscribers. Um, so I think we probably have a number of people here who are Alpha Pick customers as well. So I just want to go over those differences. Pro Quant portfolio, 30 stocks, no more than that. You possibly might find if we have to sell ideas during the week that I could drop down to 29 or 28, but every Monday it gets rebalanced at 30. With Alpha Picks, it's basically 2 new picks every month, and we just keep adding. Um, as I mentioned, with a Pro Quant portfolio, if a stock is a hold, it comes out every Monday. With Alpha Picks, we actually keep the holds in the portfolio for 180 days because Alpha Picks is designed for long-term investors. The rebalancing, as I mentioned, is weekly with the Pro Quant portfolio. With Alpha Picks, there are 2 to 3 trades every month that are coming in. The trading date closest to the 1st and the 15th. And we typically aim to hold that for a 1 year period. Sometimes they come out sooner. Sometimes they last actually longer. So quite a bit of difference in the strategies there with with a weekly rebalance versus the long-term aspect of Alpha Picks. The stock universe for PQP, we're looking at US stocks plus ADRs, all market caps. For Alpha Picks, it's really primarily just US common stocks, and they have to have a market cap over 500 million. If it is an ADR, it's an ADR that's primarily listed in the US. Share price, there's no minimum share price for the Pro Quant portfolio. With Alpha Picks, all the stocks have to be over $10. Trade alerts come out weekly with detailed analysis for PQP. With Alpha Picks, it's usually twice a month that we have those alerts that go out with in-depth analysis. The turnover, typically 2 to 3 positions a week with PQP, and with Alpha Picks, very low turnover. So those are the primary differences between the two. So I believe we've already had some questions. So as we have posted the articles on the Pro Quant portfolio platform, here are a couple of the questions. So first one from Stellar Flux. I noticed that the portfolio tab lists several rebalancing actions along with their respective dates. Could you clarify what time these actions are typically executed on those days? Is the expectation that subscribers act on these changes right away? So there is no expectation on subscribers. Every subscriber is different. Their risk tolerance is different. The amount of capital they have is different. So they could choose to look at the portfolio of 30 stocks and just choose a handful, just cherry pick, or they could choose to participate in all the stocks and follow the weekly rebalance, which answers the first part. You typically will see that rebalance on a Monday at 9:30. The markets are closed on Monday. Obviously, it will be the following day at 9:30, and it's on a weekly basis for the rebalance. The only exception is if stock drops to sell or strong sell, we will take it out of the portfolio that day, and an alert will be issued. Our second question is a shorter question. I've just signed up for Pro. Are we getting invited for regular calls to discuss the portfolio and new picks versus buy? At this point, we do not have regular calls. With Alpha Picks, we have 2 calls a month. The trading date, which is usually the 1st or the 15th, are the closest two. With the Pro Quant portfolio, since it's getting rebalanced on a weekly basis, we don't have the calls, but you can expect every week at 9:30, you will see the publication come out with a very, it's got a good detailed update the stocks that are we're buying and selling, but also it gives you general information of what's happened to the market that week as well. What sectors have moved, what's happened with geopolitical events, what's happened with the macro environment. So we try to provide sort of a synopsis on a weekly basis of what's going on with the markets, as well as the stocks that are being added to the portfolio or taken out of the portfolio. Next set of questions from Donnie. How do we rebalance? How do we do rebalancing of 30 stocks? Does it mean we need to sell some portion of the ones which have a higher weight now, i.e. QSG, and buy more of the ones which fell in price to increase their weight? So I basically we provide transparency. We want people to know how our performance is achieved. So that's why we show the price that the trades are executed at, and that's why we show the weights in the portfolio. It's a very transparent system that gets updated on a daily basis. It is really up to you as a subscriber or the investor to decide how you want to handle that. Um, some of you will want to follow it exactly on a weekly basis, moving the exact positions. We don't know how much capital you have. You could have $500, you could have $100,000, you could have $1,000,000. So we wouldn't be able to tell you the exact share amounts because we don't know the amount of capital that you have. But we do show our weights, and you are free to follow that. But again, you don't have to feel obliged to do that. You could just select a handful of the names or just cherry pick. Picking 70. Hi, Stephen. You mentioned when a security's quant rating is downgraded from strong buy to hold, sell, or strong sell, it can trigger removal from the pro quant portfolio. Are there other criteria to be fulfilled for selling a position? Like today, should we wait for your email before selling the two hold positions? So with our back tests, we found that we had optimal performance by just removing the holds when we did the weekly rebalance. So we did not find a need to remove those holds at the moment that they were dropped to a hold. Where with the sells, it's a little bit different. The sells, as soon as the sell comes, we get rid of it that day. So you will get an email that morning at 9:30 when the sell happens. The other trigger possibly could be, as I said, if a company fails to file its SEC forms, or if a stock goes above $10,000. Those are other criteria that would set the sell in place. So, but if a stock drops to hold, which I think is really your question, we keep it into the rebalance on a Monday. If it's a sell, it occurs that day. So, and I think that's it. Dale, I think we have 99 questions. We won't
We
be able to answer all of
have
them, but feel free to throw a couple at me.
We have a ton of questions. And before we dive into those, I want to go ahead and mention as well, if you're not aware, say you were at the Top Stocks event or you've been around for a little bit, you know that we have a site-wide sale going on right now. So if you want to take advantage of Pro, now is the time to do it. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link here in the chat, and it'll be beneath the video if you're watching the replay as well, where you can go check out everything that Pro has to offer. Now, we've already answered a lot of the questions about Alpha Picks versus Pro versus Premium. Is it a separate subscription? Yes, it is. But we had one question come in that I would love to kickstart this off with. Somebody just recently joined Pro, and they're wondering when they join Pro. I mean, it's now midweek. Should they wait till the following Monday when the portfolio rebalances to start making their selections, or is it one of those portfolios that are systematic and they can just dive in with the selection that we have for the week?
I really, Daniel, I would say that you can come in on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, even a Friday. The majority of the stocks will stay in the portfolio. Uh, what we found going back to 2015 on average, there will be 2 to 3 changes. So there's no reason to wait. You could dive into it right away. And you could scale into it. You don't have to do all the positions. You could do a number of positions over a period of several days or several weeks or even several months. It's really, again, based on each individual's risk tolerance. So you have to make that decision on your own. But if you join today, and you want to jump right into it, you certainly can buy all the ideas today, and know when we come on Monday, it's likely that you'll be probably selling 2 of the stocks. We had that this Monday, but actually the previous week there were no sells. So the portfolio carried over for 2 weeks without any changes.
All right. So we had a question early on from Steve saying, just wondering what happens to a stock in the Pro Quant portfolio if the quant system stops coverage of the stock. Is that treated as a sell rating?
If it were to fall out of the quant system, it would come out of the portfolio. So it would have most likely, what would happen is we have a criteria where there has to be at least one Wall Street analyst covering the stock. I want to rephrase that. That actually, I think that would come out on the rebalance period that would not come out that day. But that's actually a really good question, and I'm going to post the answer in the comment section. We have a lot of criteria, and I want to double check on that one. So that is a really great question, and I will provide it in the comment section today.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on the analysis article when the comment comes through. All right. So there was a lot of questions here. So this is a different model than what you're known for at Alpha Picks, which is very the long term investor, right? And the portfolio has done tremendously over there. But people are thinking about, well, if I bought it at the beginning of June, and now here we are 3 weeks later, we're starting to sell stocks. There's probably a tax implication here, but we also have an international audience, so they're kind of wondering, are taxes factored into this, or is it the model portfolio? How do we handle that side of things?
I'm actually getting the answer for that individual right now for the
Oh,
previous
perfect.
question. Give me 2 seconds.
All right. And while you're doing that, we also wanted to mention, so if the strong buy rating turns to a sell midweek, right? So we're talking about the quant system is updated every single day before market open, and you come in and there's a sell rating for a stock. That stock is sold that day, correct?
All right, just getting the answer here. Okay, Daniel, sorry, repeat that question one more time.
Yeah, and then we'll
Uh,
go back. We'll go back to the other one here in a second. But if
yep,
a stock has a sell rating, because the quant system updates before market opens every single day, right? So when that
correct.
sell
Yep,
rating hits, we're selling the stock that specific day. Doesn't matter if it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, correct?
absolutely correct. So our quant system updates every morning between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. So when that rating change occurs, it will be issued at 9:30 that day.
And then the cash from that sale sits in the portfolio until the following Monday, correct? You're
Correct.
not redistributing across the rest of the portfolio at that time.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, great. All right. Now, do you have that answer for us?
That answer is being typed as we're speaking. So
Okay.
why don't
We'll,
you
we'll
give
give
me the
we'll
next
give the
question?
we'll give the team some more time. We'll give
Yeah.
them more time.
So Temmie is on it right now. So I want to say to
I
a
mean,
certain extent, when you're in the quant world, for most people, it really historically has been like a black box. When you're looking at like big hedge funds like, Renaissance or Bridgewater, people really don't know what's in the black box. I will say largely what we do is the same as those hedge funds, and we have made that black box very transparent. But there's a lot that goes into this. It's pretty it's not exactly rocket science, but there's pretty close. The algorithms that we have are tremendous. There's a lot of criteria and parameters that we have. Some of which we divulge, some of which we don't. We try to make it a user-friendly experience. Um, and that question, I'm still waiting on Tell me on answering that for me.
that's all right. We'll give Timmy some time.
Yeah,
And as he's working on that, let's go back to that tax question, because I mean, this question came through multiple times about this is different than the Alpha Picks long term investing philosophy, as I had mentioned. It's very much I could buy a stock at the beginning of the month and it could be out of the portfolio at the end of the month. So when we
correct.
think about tax implications, which most of the viewers and investors think of, how should they be considering that when they think about the ideas that are generated from the pro quant portfolio?
Yeah, you have to be comfortable with having a taxable account. So, um, if you are using this type of portfolio, your objective is to generate returns that should beat the S&P 500 on an equal weighted basis. What we're shooting is have the best returns possible, bar none. Um, we take this very serious. We put a lot of time and effort, a lot of back testing into looking at the right criteria, back testing, individual factors over 25-year periods. So we want to be able to have the best quant system available. And with a quant system, these are trades that you have to be sort of prepared to do and in quantity as well. So even though I tell people you could look at this portfolio and just cherry pick the stocks, the expectation is still is that you want diversification. You'll be adding a number of stocks to the portfolio, and you have to be prepared to sell those stocks. And what tells us to sell the stocks is the data. It's a data-driven process. So when we're examining each metric for a stock versus its competitors, when all of a sudden a company's metric goes from being the strongest to in line or to the weakest, we bring that to you on a daily basis. So you have to be prepared to trade, and you have to know, obviously, there are tax implications, but hopefully the returns that you get make it well worth it.
Well said, Steve. Well said. There's a question here. Will the portfolio ever be more than 30 stocks?
The portfolio will not be more than 30 stocks. However, it can drop down. Um, so if there's a sell that's issued during the week or a strong sell, we will take that out during the week. So there will be periods where there could be, 29 or 28 stocks, but every Monday it will go back to 30. All right, so let's see. Have Temi give me that answer for me. Okay. If we don't have a rating for a stock, then the way the system works now is that it will be moved immediately. So just like a
Immediately.
sell. Yes,
Okay.
immediately. Yeah.
But just to
So
remind everybody, those rating changes only happen in the morning before market open. It will not happen during the intraday trading period of the market. So you can wake up in the morning. You don't have to worry about what's going on during the day. You get it in the morning, and that's it. Right?
Temi, thank you for pulling out that answer.
Yeah.
We
Like
got
I
to
said,
dig deep
Timmy's the
into the
man.
algo to
We
see
love
remember
Timmy.
how we programmed that.
Timmy's great, man. All right, so here we go. So 2 to 3 trades weekly means that you add 2 to 3 ideas, or you also sell. But I think the question here is they want to, as you mentioned earlier, right? We had that 1 week where there were no sells and no additional buys,
Correct.
correct? So there are periods of time where that can happen.
That will absolutely happen. Yeah, there will definitely be periods where there are no sells and the portfolio just carries on. It gets rebalanced. Everything gets rebalanced as an equal weighted position, but no stocks come out and no stocks are added.
There was a great clarification here. Quick misspeak earlier when you were going through the site. OpFi is not in the Alpha Pix portfolio. That was from the top 10 stocks.
That
Actually,
was from the top 10 stocks.
just
I
want
think
to
we
make
have a
sure.
lot happening, don't we?
Yeah, we do, but we also have a lot of alpha, so it works out.
We do. We have some pretty good performance.
We have really great performance. So there was a question here because there's actually, as you mentioned out, Credo Technology, which is in the Pro Quant portfolio and in the Alpha Pix portfolio. Do you anticipate that happening a lot where there might be crossover between the two portfolios?
You might have. I think right now we have Credo that's in there. Trying to think. As you mentioned, OpFi is actually was our one of our top tens from January. We have Brinker in there as well. We have SSR Mining. So we have three stocks that I'm currently looking at that are in the Alpha Pix portfolio. So there will be some crossover, and there could be crossover for our list of top 10 stocks from January or top 10 stocks. Actually, our top 10 stocks for the second half of 2025 were all pulled from the Pro Quant portfolio. And obviously it's off to a great start. I'm actually going to go to our stocks that we had in the beginning of the year that we picked, and we're going to look at the holdings. And as you can see, as Danny mentioned, OpFi was in that list, not in the Alpha Pick. So thank you for picking that out. Our 2025 top 10 stocks, those stocks today are up 3.58%. From January 8th to date, our top 10 stocks are up 28%, Daniel. So those
I
are
think we're
still
doing
looking
pretty good.
really strong. Yeah. Looking very, very strong on that. On the summary, we could see of those stocks, we have one issue with PayPal. The data didn't come through for some reason, but I believe PayPal is a hold. We have 8 of those stocks are still strong buys that we put in back in January. And if we take a look at the top 10 stocks for the second half of 2025, we can see that portfolio, which what was that, last week or 2 weeks ago?
For top stocks of
Second
2020,
half of
second half,
2025.
that was last week. That was
That
just
was
last.
last week. That
Yep.
portfolio is already up 7.84%.
Yeah.
So since last week, we have CommScope up
Exactly 7 days
28%.
ago. Last Tuesday, we announced this.
Last Tuesday. So we have 3 stocks since last Tuesday that are up over 20%. CommScope, we have BK Technologies, and Power Solutions International. So that's off to a great start as well. And again, these 10 stocks were taken from the Pro Quant portfolio.
Amazing. Thanks for showcasing that. All right, Steve. Someone asked here, do we have an automated trading service to help them with this portfolio?
We do not. So there is no ETF. There's no wrap account. There's no mutual fund. You pretty much have to do this on your own for the Pro Quant portfolio.
All right. And we said we send out, people were asking about emails. Do they get, I imagine they get probably a mobile push notification as well, takes them to the site. They see the analysis that's written up by you and the quant team, as well as the changes to the portfolio Mondays at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, correct?
Right on the analysis tab here, you will find that every Monday, 9:30 Eastern, just as you mentioned. That will be right here. Or you will also get the email.
All right. Let's go back to, if you don't mind, let's go back to the back test in the
Sure.
slide deck that we have right quick, because somebody was asking how does it perform in the bear market? And actually, I think we can just kind of zoom into the year 2022. If you want to go back to that period, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say there's like two periods that you want to look at. So it's hard to call this market a this year a bear market. The market did have a 15% correction very briefly from its 52-week high. So that is typically viewed as a negative, but almost just as quickly as it hit that 15% correction, it started to come back. And um, this is something I want to really I want individuals to pick up to this. When you look at these quant stocks, whether looking at the pro quant portfolio or alpha picks or just the quant stocks in general, or any stock with good fundamentals, when you hit a market that's in a corrective phase, when there's fear driving the market, when there's sentiment driving the market, stocks with good fundamentals are going to sell off sharply and quickly because it is investor behavior to take profits, especially to take profits from stocks where they made money. So it doesn't come into the equation that the stocks have good fundamentals. It doesn't come into the equation how strong their growth rates. When markets are being driven by fear and sentiment, people fly to cash, they fly to gold, they fly to safe haven sectors such as utilities or consumer staples. Okay. So what you need to remember, no matter what period you're in, is the markets always rebound. And we had one graph, which I didn't include in this presentation, but to sort of highlight that, if you went back to 2010, there have been 5 pullbacks where the market was 15% off its 52-week high. 5 of those pullbacks, some of them were far more than 15%. But if you use that 15% point, and typically what happens is stocks with good fundamentals, they come off way more than 15%. Stocks with fundamentals, people just sell them right away. They raise cash. So those stocks will often come off 20, 30, 40%. And we experience that with alpha picks. So with that chart, we were able to show if you bought the S&P 500 when the market had a 15% pullback and you held that for 2 years, you would have had a 50% return on average for the S&P 500. If you just bought the S&P 500, you just bought the SPY or you bought the Vanguard index, you'd have a 50% return over a 2-year period. If you took our top 10 quant stocks using that same period, the return was 117%. So it really shows you how the investors uh, return to stocks with good fundamentals, and they do it in force. And that's exactly what you're seeing on the far hand right side here. You saw a big pullback in the stocks, and now you're seeing a phase. And really, the markets started coming back in May. June was kind of volatile with all the news that was out there, but we're still seeing an incredible jump in many of the quant stocks. And as you look at past periods where you see these big pullbacks, eventually the stocks with strong fundamentals, they just keep going higher. So the other period that I pull on is the pandemic. You can see there was a sharp pullback in um, the pro quant portfolio during the pandemic, but look at how it exploded to the upside, in the year that followed that. And it's really the same case whether we go back 5 years, 15 years, 20 years, 100 years. When fear fades, people return to stocks with good fundamentals. So it's a textbook case, and we're seeing that this year. We're experiencing it firsthand. Many of the stocks that we had in our quant system, our alpha picks, have really come back quite strongly. We look at the alpha picks portfolio today. As I mentioned, the portfolio today is up 2.58%. Here are some of the stocks. So people are getting to see a few of those. But we just want to really highlight how good the performance is. Obviously, if you like these systems, you need to subscribe because you need to find out when they come out of the portfolios. You need to get the rating alerts, and that's why I'm absolutely okay showing off the performance today. Because if you just buy it one time, you'll never know when to get out of it.
Oh, Captain, my Captain. I feel like we've been doing these webinars for a long time, and that is definitely one thing that you've been sharing time and time again is no matter what the market does, they always go back to the stocks that have great fundamentals, and that's what the quant system is built on. So thankfully, Seeking Alpha acquired CrestCap all those years ago, and now we have everything that we have here today. But Steve, let's go ahead and wrap it up here. I know we're at the top of the hour. Everyone, thank you for taking the time to hang out with us today. If you haven't checked out the Pro Quant portfolio or Seeking Alpha Pro, reminder right now there is a sale going on, 20% off your subscription if you sign up before the sale ends. And if you have any further questions, you can always reach out to our team, subscriptions@seekingalpha.com. I can't wait to see you again here in the next webinar. Take care and have a great rest of the week.